right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Revive and Drive
Another one.
podcast. I am Brad Larson, your host, and my co-host Charles Erby, and today we have probably what's going to be one of the best episodes we have recorded thus far. Charles, you have brought on some guests today.
I recruited some first round draft choices right here. It's some of my drivers. And please excuse my screen. I got a lot of lag going on. I got a computer problems, but it'll be fixed. However, um, yeah, my drivers want to express somewhat what they're going through, and they're entitled to do it because they're not the only ones that's going through this. And I got some great people here today. Some, like I say, it's my first round draft choices, and we're just gonna drop the flag and let them have at it. So,
I guess
Will,
What's going
Will,
on?
you want to talk to us? Will, tell us a little bit about yourself. We're gonna move down the line.
Okay. Um. As far as my situation, I'm sorry. I'm 41. I live in Georgia. I work for a big company called Solvay, and my situation brought me here today. I'm glad to be here, though. Learned a lot so far. So just sticking with you.
Thank you, Will. Thank you. We want to make the SAP process painless for you guys because there's been a lot of frustration and a lot of fear because people don't know what's going on with the SAP process. Nobody explaining nothing to them, and you just drop out of the sky and got to pay somebody some money, and you don't know what's going on. So that's why we want to have podcasts like this. So, Mr. Marvin Wells, what's going on?
Hey, I'm all right. I'm good. I'm Marvin Wells. I'm originally from New York, but I moved to Georgia. I've been here since 2015, and basically, bumps and little bruises in the road. But I'm currently working. I'm employed with East Point Water and Sewer, and
Good.
basically, I'm a foreman. I'm a supervisor, and with a supervisor, you have to obtain and hold on to a CDL, and I ran across a little bumps and bruises, but I'm back. And Mr. Charles has helped me very much and informed me, and very good guy.
Oh, thanks, Marvin. Ladies, I believe one of them may be Desiree. Is that you?
My name is Desiree.
She's a little shy.
I've been trucking for about a year. Upon re-entry into trucking, I failed the drug test pre-employment. I'm from Florida, and I kind of go where the wind take me, so I'll be somewhere everywhere these days. But just trying to get back into the groove of things and seeing that it's not as easy having this flag on me.
Yeah. And is there Miss McGee? I guess you can't hear us, right?
Might be a little. She should be here.
Okay.
Yes, I'm
Miss
sorry,
McGee?
guys. I was making
It's all right.
mute
No, it's
myself so
fine.
you guys can hear that background noise, but I am listening.
All right.
I'm from Alabama. Like I said before, me and my fiance, we went to school in 2022. We obtained our CDL license. I actually got hired for Swift to run the Walmart account through the distribution center. So of course, when I went and did my pre-employment, it came back, positive. I didn't believe that because I knew I was very, 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 very careful because I kind of knew when I was going to do everything. I even let them cut my hair. And so I actually paid $250 more to have the medical record, the officer call you for them to retest it, which of course they use the same urine. But hey, I kind of gave up because I felt like, hey, I'm never going to get a job. You know what I'm saying? Because, they, kind of label people, when things like that happen,
Yeah.
So I'm just now getting back. This is 2025, getting back to like building my confidence back up because, that is something that I want to do because I also want to create other businesses out of it. So that's when I contacted Mr. Charles, and here we are. So.
And I'm glad to have you.
Absolutely.
Thank
Now
you.
let me ask you real quick, McGee, before you go, Miss McGee.
Okay.
So when you applied to Swift to the Walmart account, how many years of driving experience did you have, or was this like first getting hired on, or?
Okay, that's a good question. This was actually after I graduated from the CDL program. You have the recruiters come to the school, and I applied for it, and I had a great recruiter, and he got me in there, and I was going to be making a certain amount every week. I was going to be home every day, and I was going to go from distribution center to distribution center.
But did you get like any experience in driving wise?
No, that was going to be my first time ever being, actually a truck driver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
which I was going to do the page, they was going to train me, but that was like right out of school. Yeah.
So the situation you have right now is once you got into school, you had that failed drug test, and now it's hard for you to find a job. Okay, that's a big issue right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
but to be honest with you guys, I never looked again, because when that happened, I was kind of devastated because I am, you're congratulating yourself. I'm a female, so it's like a female driving a truck. That's big.
I got a couple.
Never went back to it.
I got a couple solutions for you. It isn't over. There are some companies that will hire new grads, new students, but I'll pull it up for you. But the problem is it's a waiting list, and they're out of Wisconsin. But we'll go over that farther, and then I'll send some info to give some info to Charles to give to you, and we'll see what we can do about getting you back on for sure. So
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Anyway, so. Will, real quick, Charles, when we were having that discussion, the introduction, we were talking to Will, and he's an electrician.
Right.
Happened to go through the SAP program.
Yes, sir. First time in my life.
So tell me, what if you can share a little bit more on your story, what happened, and why did they require you to go through a SAP counselor?
So this is how it started for me. I guess they scheduled some randoms through my company, and I had to go take a random. Everything was fine from what I thought. I didn't hear nothing till maybe like a week and a half down the road, and it was kind of weird because they were saying that first I refused to take a drug test, which I had the paperwork and everything. Then they said that my urine was diluted, so I offered to retake. They didn't let me retake. And they end up cut me loose.
Yeah.
I had no say so in it. I was still confused about the whole thing because I wasn't on drugs. So I'm just in turmoil.
Charles, we've talked about that a lot, about the whole dilution.
Absolutely.
I think that's the most ridiculous thing, because you'll be sitting there and waiting for a drug test. They want you to drink water, ready to take it. Bro, I'll chug water. And
I do too.
That shouldn't be a thing, but if it's not a negative, it's positive. So
that's what happens a lot in these labs. When drug testing centers, you gotta sit there and you gotta look some anxiety, because you got a 3-hour window, and they may not even tell you that, to get all this water down and to get some urine out of yourself. So you're sitting there. And it's a lot on you psychologically to try to get this done. You guys understand that? Try to urinate and they feed you water, and you feel like you're under the gun. That is not a natural state in order to produce urine, So it's a lot of things going on here.
All right, now next we're gonna go with Mr. Wells on my side. Hello, Mr. Wells.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. So we were did we introduce you already, actually? Or
yeah, we got it.
We did. Okay, I'm sorry.
He's a supervisor that they're gonna make him go through the SAP process, because he's
Charles,
a supervisor.
I need a drug test. Apparently, I'm forgetting shit. Rooted in Fred. I'm sorry, miss. What was your last name? She goes.
Mine.
Yeah.
Lewis. Desiree Lewis.
Desiree Lewis. Yes.
Lewis. Okay, so Miss Lewis, you were actually going through the SAP program right now?
Yes.
Okay. But are you used to drive for Prime? Okay. And how many years experience did you have driving?
About a little over a year, and then I for personal reasons, I decided to get off. I really just got tired of being OTR. And so I just took time off. And like I said, I was actually going to Heartland, and that's when I felt my pre-employment.
Heartland Express, which is funny enough. Heartland is, or not Heartland. Charles, that one company I actually went to when I was first getting the SAP program. Variant Heartland, I think are sister companies, and Variant actually hires SAP drivers, but you got to pass a hair follicle. So does CFI. Now you're looking to do teaming with your husband or fiance?
I think that's Miss.
Or
Me, Miss McGee.
I'm sorry, I got mixed up. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
You would think it's my Monday. See, this is a lot like to process at once. So
yeah, we're flying the plane as we build it. So
yeah,
and this is the first time we ever had groups come in. We want to make this a mainstay on our Saturday podcast. So you guys are thank you for being patient with us. We're going to really get it together, and it's going to be a hell of a show next week. So it is going to be one right now.
The original plan was to have one at a time, one for each week. But I was like, you know what? Bring them all in. Let's go for this.
Yeah.
All right. So how do I even begin with all this, Charles?
One thing I was thinking about, and is one of the ladies brought it to my attention when I was taking her through her assessment. It dawned on me how shocking to your system it is when you find out you have a violation and you don't have any answers. Nobody's telling you anything, especially the employer. The only thing they tell you is that you got to go find a SAP. Am I right so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now you're thinking, oh, hell, I got to get an attorney, don't I? Oh, I'm going to lose my license. Oh, yeah, they're going to start downgrade me. Oh, tell me, has any of these thoughts come in the atmosphere?
I know they have for me.
Right. Has any of these thoughts happened to you guys? Thoughts of your mind just going crazy?
Yeah. It's the first time I ever heard of SAP, to be honest with you. I never.
Will, honestly, your case is the most craziest one. I still, so once you're finished with the SAP, I'm still confused. And Charles, maybe you can help me with his thing.
Yeah.
How is he supposed to do the return to duties and then the follow-ups? Is the follow-ups to the company, even though he's not driving?
So that's one of my questions too.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have him. It could be a lot of things, a lot of different moving parts going on with Will, because he may. Are you in a union?
No, sir.
No union. Okay. Mechanics and people that have safety sensitive duty and are not drivers still have to go through the SAP process. They may have you under considered sensitive safety duties, Will, the type of work you do. Mechanics, especially airline mechanics, has to go through a SAP process. Flight attendants is a safety sensitive duty. They have to go through it. It's more than just truck drivers. So they probably stored you in a category. Now, one thing you got to know that if a company wants you to go through some type of SAP process, it doesn't have to be SAP. It can be a CUE, chemical use evaluation. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but I want to hear more from the drivers too. Tell me about the situations you guys are going through. The ladies, I want to hear how you felt when you found out you had a violation. What were the thoughts going through your mind?
For me, this is Miss McGee. I was confused. Because my question to you, Mr. Charles, is this right here, and Bradley. Like whenever you do take your drug test, whether it be via urine or alcohol or hair, why is it that they don't allow you to go back to that same facility where you took your test to redo your test in a window? Why do they sample that same one. I mean, I'm sorry. I have been devastated about
So
that because
you're talking about a split test, basically,
Yeah.
when you take
Yeah.
where you got to pay.
Yeah.
All right. So for instance, when I failed mine, I paid the $250 and I wanted them to take the split sample to double check. It said it failed again. I'm like, all right, well, this makes no sense. So you're saying, well, why can't we take a test somewhere else, like see what they say instead of the?
Yes. Instead of like retest that same sample, because I mean, if it came up positive the first time, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's gonna come up positive the second time.
Yeah.
But why would I mean? It didn't offer a $250 fee to retest. I felt like, why not let us redo that? You know what I mean?
So I have an answer, Charles, but if you want to go,
Yeah, the technical part about it is it's called an aliquot, and they will take it out of the same sample that you produced. They want to check to see if there was a problem with their equipment or an operator error. And that's about really the criteria that they're checking for, to see if there's anything on their part. That's why they do it like that.
well, I got something going on, Charles. A friend of mine's actually dealing with a case with DCS, and he had to take a hair follicle. All right. He ended up failing the hair follicle, but he went to another facility the same day and took it again. He passed the hair follicle.
Mm-hmm.
He went back to that facility after they told him that they failed it. He paid the money out of pocket, failed the hair follicle again. So he went back to the other facility, passed the hair follicle. Now, this might be a DCS thing, like messing with them, but hair follicles, I'm starting to wonder if they're, I know they're supposed to be the most accurate of drug tests, but I don't know, man. I don't know the whole system. It sounds like something sketchy is going on, But
well, for my drivers right here, know this about hair follicle. Hair follicle is more than just a drug test. It's a history. Yeah. And that's the thing that's terrible about it for drivers. See, you could have smoked 2 months ago, but that shouldn't have any relevance on you getting a job if you've been clean of anything now. It shouldn't have that relevance. You shouldn't have your past, blocking you right now, especially when you decide to put it down because you're going to start driving as a CDL driver. You guys understand that?
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yeah, talk to me.
So I had an employer. They said we're going to urine test you for your return to duty, but we also, for company policy, we're going to do a hair follicle test. And I asked, I said, I'm willing to try it. However, is the hair follicle test gonna ding my clearinghouse again?
Good question.
How does that work? Because I'm willing to try, but again,
the hair follicle is not a DOT federal regulated.
Right. It's not recognized by the DOT. But the thing about a hair follicle can be used. The federal government allows employers to use hair follicles to screen you out and not hire you. But it is not recognized.
Yeah, it's a policy. It's not a law.
Yeah, it's a company. It can be a company policy.
It can. I think though. Don't quote me on this. It's like normally when I talk about the stuff, I don't even want to say I think, but maybe Charles might know. It could go into a DAC report. Maybe.
That's a good question.
Maybe
it really shouldn't.
Well, I think it'll go under failed drug test or like something company policy or didn't follow company policy. Maybe it won't be direct. I've heard of stories like that, but most of the time when I was working, I would never work for a company that ran under DAC anyway. But sometimes you have no choice. So
yeah, Higher Right uses DAC, but all for my drivers out there, you cannot have a violation posted on the clearinghouse when it's done by a hair follicle.
Plain and simple. But Marvin, you're pretty quiet down there. So Marvin, question for you, my man. So you are you said you're the supervisor. So you have to operate what kind of vehicles do you operate?
I operate excavators, bobcats.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Heavy equipment operator. Yeah.
Heavy equipment operators do have to go through the SAPS program.
Absolutely.
Right.
So that would mean you need to go through the clearinghouse and also do the step 5 and step 6 follow-ups through a consortium.
All of that stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So what's your situation? What happened? If you want
Well,
to share.
yeah. Well, the situation with me, basically, I mean, I was working for at that time DeKalb County, which is doing the same thing that I'm doing here. And basically, I went and just to piggyback on what Will said. I'm sitting out in the waiting room for about at least about 2 hours, and a couple of times I even went to the counter and said, "Hey, Miss, I know you guys have to, do a random and everything, but you guys got me waiting so long. I got to use the bathroom." So she said, "Oh, you use it and just drink some more water." And
Oh, okay. Keep going. That's a problem right there.
and did that
That's
and did that, and then when it came down to it, the lady was like, "Okay," and then like a week after that, the lady from, I guess she was a medical receptionist over there, whatever, that deals with the sample.
MRO. Yes, yes.
MRO, right? And she told me, she was like, well, what I'm gonna need you to do is I'm gonna need you to go see your doctor, and your doctor has to give me, give us a call and let us know why everything is so, I guess she was saying watery or whatever. Like the way she said it to me was like I had like a medical problem. So I'm like, wait a minute. Well, let me go and check myself out. Then when I wound up going to like an urgent care center because I couldn't actually get with my doctor to he was real busy, and it wasn't, usually I can wait for an appointment. So the couple of days she gave me, about 2-3 days to do it, but I couldn't get him. So I asked her again. She was like, well, go into any facility or whatever, have them check you out and have them report back to me. So I went into the facility, and basically from what she was saying was, check my kidneys, so I'm thinking that I have a bigger problem.
Yeah, yeah.
So I go and, I go and, do through the urgent care center. They tell me everything was fine. She did tell me my blood pressure was kind of high. And at that time I was on blood pressure medication, and I had to take water pills also, because normally when you first start blood pressure medicine, they give you a small water pill, and then you take, then you take your regular medicine. You take both pills together. So I'm really feeling like at that point that, uh, they kind of judged me wrong, but didn't give me enough time to satisfy what it is that she really wanted to find out, before she basically labeled me and put me in the box. That's what I feel.
Did they? So they failed you for diluted?
That's what they failed me for.
Well, I mean,
they used a different term. They used a refusal. They were saying a refusal of a substance.
That's what it's
The substance was water. So I'm like, how could that be? I don't understand it.
Charles, honestly, I feel like that's kind of a low blow to anybody in the SAP program. I honestly think it should be rephrased differently. If someone has something that's too diluted, it should just say diluted. Simple as that. To say refusal of substance or refusal in general is just making it sound like, oh, they're hiding something for sure. They're gonna fail. That's not right. But
well, usually in my experience, when they talk about diluted, what they typically are trying to say, you brought something into their room in a canister. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's typically how it goes. There's a lot of ways to say it, but diluted, they're saying that is not real pee or normal pee.
But you can also get it diluted if you do drink a gallon of water and it comes out like water.
Yeah.
But there's just a lot of people who drink water. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being hydrated. And
exactly.
Well, if you're sitting there and you're drinking water and then you're using the bathroom, when it's your time to be called, you want to get out of there. I'm actually at work while I'm taking the test, so I felt like I was rushed. It was like a rush process, and then at the end of it, there was no. It was just, this is what the situation is, and boom.
Okay.
Deal with it. You know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now,
They led you down a medical rabbit hole too, and
Yeah.
that was strange.
Because I had to go
yeah.
and spend money. I had to go spend money for urgent care. You know, I spent about $95 that just to be seen by a doctor to tell me that there's nothing wrong with my kidneys. Because when I went, they took a urine sample from me when I went to urgent care.
Are you still working, Mr. Wells?
Yeah, I'm still working.
Like
I'm working.
your job is fine with you, like no
No,
issues.
that's the thing that me and Mr. Charles had a conversation about this the other day. I mean, it was a situation where you know, I came to sit down and explain it to my safety, you know, the safety unit, which is of the company, you know, and they
Mhm.
basically didn't want nothing to do with it. You know, all they want to know is that you know, my license is up to par, and that's it. And the crazy thing about the company, I don't really, you know, I did mention the name or whatever. I don't want to go too deep in with it, but
Right,
I
right.
you got
I can
CDL,
block out the name if you would like.
you got CDL drivers. You have CDL drivers that are there that have A and B
Mhm.
license. You have A and B license, and you're not checking them, or you're not even, you know, you don't even have a program or something for them to deal with. You know, if it's a situation where you have most of the government jobs, if you have a situation where, you know, let's just say you're going through some hard times, you come to them and say, hey, look, I've been drinking or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There's supposed to be an outlet of some type of help.
Yeah,
So
and
when you
EAP. Yeah,
right, so if you go down that rabbit hole with them, they're gonna take you out of service because you even mention it to them, of course, I would think.
right. That's true.
So
That's true.
there should be some direction that you actually send these people. It shouldn't be a situation where, you know, these people, you know, they got a situation, you can't help them. You want to put them in a program, but if you put them in a program, now you're not going to bring them back to, you know, where they're supposed to be. This just doesn't work out for me. So it's like, you know, it's very confusing, you know. And I also I went another route with Mr. Charles. He had mentioned to me someone that I could talk to about it, and I'm actually that's the route that I'm going. So it's like dealing with the situation outside of the company.
Okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
Well,
when you yeah,
at least you are working. It sucks to be in the consortium, especially holding the CDO, but like we tell everybody, it's not over. You know, I mean, look at it this way: when you get through with your follow ups, it's gone in 5 years. It'll be
yeah,
off your record. It's like it's never existed. And a lot of people don't realize that. Like they think it's a permanent thing. It's not. It really isn't. But the follow ups, make sure when you guys do go to a company for the drivers out there, they actually do the follow ups.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were supposed to have a guest on today to talk about a company that I worked for as well, Tribe, Charles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And she said she went there for a year, didn't do a single follow up. I worked there for a year, didn't do a follow up. You
I get
know,
that every week. Every week from drivers, it's a
yep.
follow-up problem. You know, I think Marvin brought up something before we put a pin in it.
Yeah,
That it should be more active with the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program,
I
because
have never heard of this. I'm sorry.
EAPs, yes, if you probably got a problem, either mental health or a substance problem, and if you express it, you get hit with a violation. It's called actual knowledge. Yeah. So people may be aware of that, so they keep it to themselves, and they deal with a lot of uh, stuff going on with them, and they can't tell anybody about it, and they can't use their employee assistance program.
I have that sounds like a rock and a hard place, man.
Yeah, there you go. Marvin was bringing that up. It's a catch 22. I think that's what he
Catch
was
twenty
saying.
two. Yeah,
Uh, you know you want to you got a program benefits. We call it benefits, EAP, but you can't use them because if you say anything, actual knowledge, you go on to treatment and you got to find a SAP. So I don't know. That's something for everybody to think about.
now, if you have to find a SAP, which you're right there, Mr. Irby, is it still with that whole EAP thing? Is that like you have to do it for like a year, or you out of work during this time? Like I'm still trying
Well,
to.
well, if any of the our guests know anything about it, please chime in. But I think within EAP, it's Employee Assistance Program, it's up to them of how they want to do it. But a SAP will be in play if they want to keep you and it's a violation that's posted. A SAP is in play.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, let me chime in. Basically, I mean, you got a big company. You got
Mm-hmm.
more than 10 employees working for you.
Mm-hmm.
We are everyday people. We're human people. You know what I mean?
Right.
You all run into situations somewhere in your life or something, and maybe you tend to do other things to keep your mind off of other things. Let's say
Right.
that.
Exactly.
And, when you're running a company, and it was crazy because the person who actually Mr. Charles referred me to was saying, "Hey, the way you're sounding and the way you're talking about it, you need to run that. You need to run that sector of the job, the safety operation, because I mean, you have to
Wow.
being in that position, you have to have compassion because you have human beings working for you. I mean, if everybody shuts the door on you, what I mean, where do you go? It only gets worse.
Right.
You know what I mean? If that's why, when you get into these jobs and you show your worth, let's say, you're a great truck driver, you're a great employee, you come to work, you go out and beyond for these companies. If you run into a situation, there should be some type of help and some type of direction to keep you being employed.
Yes.
Interesting.
It's really, you got to think about it. You got major companies where you're making major money for them, regardless. Anytime that you jump in these trucks and you start these engines and you carry their produce from one side to the next, you're making them money as much, what I mean, as much as you make yourself money, but the bigger picture is them, you know what I mean? And it's a shortage of good drivers that want to be in compliance with the program, that want to be clean and behind the wheel and do their job, and they're being overlooked by the little bad apples that you run into here and there.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So rooted in freight, what did you fail your drug test with Prime?
No, I failed it, like I said, upon entry with Heartland.
Oh, upon entry with Heartland. I'm sorry.
Pre-employment. Yeah.
The pre-employment. That's right. And you had to take a hair follicle or with them or no?
So I failed the pre-employment with Heartland. I did my SAP process with Mr. Charles, who's dope, by the way. Shout out. I did my SAP process with him. And upon looking for jobs is when I came across a company who said that they would take me. However, they wanted to do a hair follicle test.
And that sounds like CFI.
No, I'm gonna search for it. But while I search for it, I do have a question just to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
Good.
You spoke about companies not following up with your drug test. So in that case, driver do, can I schedule my own follow-ups or what?
Good question, Charles.
No, you can't schedule your own follow-ups. The employer is totally in charge of the follow-ups. Follow-ups are secret randoms. They just want to make sure to keep you honest, so they send you out for a drug screen when you're not thinking about it. And the employer is totally in charge of it. So
here's the issue though that we're seeing more and more is companies are pretty much holding you hostage and not giving you your follow-ups. For instance, like I was saying earlier, Tribe Express, it was a great team company to work for. In fact, I recommend Tribe for teaming 100%. Solo, absolutely not. And if you're trying to do your follow-ups, forget about it. I went there a full year. I did one follow-up. I should have been done in 6 months. And this was the second company I went to. The company before, I did about 3 or 4 follow-ups, but they shut down and they didn't transfer the information over to Tribe. So I had to restart my follow-ups. So, yeah.
that happens a lot. Drivers, they want to be able to move around to new employers, but they didn't complete all the follow-ups. So they're still on the SAP program. And they think that's a hitch in the giddy up, so to speak, right now, in them being employed by a new employer. And it's not. The new employer will pick up where the old employer left off. So just keep track of your follow-ups of how many you've done, and you tell your new employers how many you've done, and they will just do the remaining amount. But according to the FMCSA, you're not even supposed to be involved in that. It's supposed to be employer to employer communication. But here's the reality. I've been doing this a long time. And you guys, my drivers out there, y'all know this is true. When you leave a company, they don't really care about you that much to want to pick up the phone to talk to a new employer about you. You gone. They didn't like you being gone. They may be a little resentful and vindictive. And you see, guys, where I'm going?
Yep.
And they're not going to tell that new employer anything. They're not going to help you. And some employers will, but some employers will not lift a finger to help you. So that employer to employer communication really don't work in reality. And me and Brad, we on the line of scrimmage. We see this every day. So that's why you need a SAP. I'm going to just say it like me. That will simply say, when you get a new employer, text me the email address of your new employer, put your name in the text, and I will send them your return to duty letter with testing schedule, anything concerning treatment or certificates, and all their instructions for the clearinghouse. Somebody has to stand in the gap, because if a driver on the SAP program moves to a new employer and that information does not follow him, now he's not employable. And he is not at fault. And somebody has messed with his money.
And
Any questions?
Here's the issue, Charles, or here's how I like to compare it as well. When you are finished with your SAP, when you're on step 5, I look at the SAP drivers as the same way I look at the economy and the stock market. When the trucking industry is going down and trucking companies aren't making a lot of money, they're not going to hire SAP drivers. They are looking at, they're not going to hire any drivers at all, or they're going to hire a low percentage of drivers. But when there's a desperate need for truck drivers, because there was, like, right after COVID, the trucking industry just blew up. A lot of people from social media were promoting trucking, and a lot of people were saying, oh, trucking's the greatest thing because people were making money. But now there's an influx of drivers so much that they're at the point of oh, well, the SAP drivers are kind of on the back burner, because there was companies that were hiring SAP drivers that are no longer hiring SAP drivers. And there was companies at one time that weren't hiring SAP drivers, were bringing on any driver they could off the streets. It's a very finicky market.
So, my question would be, into the company that requested the hair follicle is Gulf Relay. But my question is there a number of tests, right, when you're doing that year process? Is there a number of tests that is supposed to be completed in that year? And so, as a driver, right, maybe 2 months, perhaps 2.5, 3 months go by and I haven't been tested. Can I then reach out to you, Mr. Charles, and be like, what's going on? Because I haven't been tested in 2 or 3 months? Or
yeah, because everybody do it. Everybody call me. And now I have to be a consultant, no longer a SAP. And that's a good one right there. You shouldn't have to come to the SAP for this. I typically tell my drivers, everything now, after step 4, everything is between you, the employer, and the clearinghouse. The SAP is out of the picture. However, I do want to be able to consult my drivers even after they went through me. But everything is between you and the employer. You just gently tell the employer with a gently reminder of, hey, what's going on? I need to be doing my follow-ups. We do want to get these things done. I'm prescribed so many follow-ups in 12 months, something like that.
Yep.
I have a question, Mr. Charles, about that. I mean, knowing the situation with a lot of the drivers and the things that they're running into with these employers and stuff like that, why isn't it where we can get something set up where, we can have that in-between person? We can have that in-between person, and they can also, I mean, it can be, it's, of course, it's going to be a cost to it. But at least that person knows what it is that you're trying to do in the game, and what you're trying to gain off the end of it by finishing and completing it. You know what I mean? Other than it being up in the air, because if you got somebody that, let's just say, we get people like consortiums, right?
Right.
And you get trustworthy consortiums, people who know exactly what it is that you're doing, exactly know, hey, we already know who your SAP guy is. We talked to your SAP guy. Your SAP guy shows us everything that needs to be completed. We're gonna come at you when the times that you need to be, at that spot to take those tests, and they send you, and you comply with them. You know what I mean? And it be, getting everything done the way it's supposed to be done, and also still being able to work at your job with no problems. Because
Good point. Good point.
yeah, it could be a situation where you say, all right, you didn't do this. I'm starting you back over. You know what I mean? Because at the end of it, if you don't complete it and you don't do it right, we're back at your door anyway knocking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Charles, we got to do this again. I need more help or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it
That's a
should be
good point.
somebody in between that is dedicated, that knows exactly the goal that needs to be reached. You know what I mean? And
Charles, I'm sorry, Mr. Wells, but Charles, weren't you and I talking about something like that?
Yeah.
What he was just talking about being like the dedicated person to pretty much consult and help them after the SAP process.
Yeah, we were talking about sometimes it gets to the point where the follow-ups need to be taken out of the employer's hands because there's too many fumbles and too many interceptions. It needs to be somebody as a liaison that take care of follow-ups for drivers. And they can do just what Mr. Wells said, set up things, make sure they're done in the recommended amount of time, and get that driver out of the SAP process. Once you finish all your follow-ups, you're no longer a SAP driver. And that's what everybody wants. It's good for the employer and really good for the driver. And the driver wants that. He don't want to linger around and has to do only so many follow-ups in 12 months, but he's still in this follow-up phase after 3 years.
I want you guys to know, for those of you searching for a trucking job, and even for those not, or anybody watching, any company that tells you they cannot hire you for insurance reasons is lying. They just won't hire you. No trucking company out there is affected by hiring SAP drivers for. It's not going to affect their insurance whatsoever. There's no policy for having a SAP driver. It does not exist. They will tell you it is. They say it's too big of a risk. That is false.
Thank you, Bradley.
Yeah.
I've heard that before.
Mr. Will, you're an electrician. Now, what if somebody is not keeping up with the follow-ups with you? Because because you're not a CDL driver, so to speak. Maybe you are, but you're doing electrician work. Go ahead.
No, I was saying no, I'm not a CDL driver.
Yeah.
Everything you guys are saying, I'm trying to listen to. None of it goes through what I'm going through. Like I said, all this is new to me. And I was hearing you guys say this thing follows you for a whole year.
Yeah, the follow-ups.
Okay.
It's a minimum of 12 months that you have to do follow-ups. You could do a maximum. The SAP can prescribe a maximum of 60 months, 5 years. Go ahead.
No. I'm just.
That made him want to hang up.
So,
the hell with this, huh? I'm going to Subway and get me some lunch. I don't want to hear that. Yeah.
Hey, so I had a question, man. It might seem dumb, but I'm gonna ask it anyway.
No,
there's no dumb questions here at all. None.
Okay, so as far as these randoms, right? What if I'm out of town? What if I'm off the job because I got family in Florida, and that's where my immediate family's at. So I go visit them. If I get a call or text, do I have to stop off where I'm at, or that only pertains to when I'm on the job?
Okay. The SAP answer is that you can you can stop doing follow-ups because you're actually not at the job, a leave of absence or anything like that. You just pick up where you left off. If you don't get all your follow-ups done in the recommended amount of time, like 12 months, it automatically gets extended out until you do get them done. So there's no real hard line of 12 months, no.
Typically, a company will have certain drug consortiums contractor or drug testing facilities contracted. So, and a lot of times, like especially for trucking, they have certain drug testing areas are all over the country. So I don't know how your company is, if they just give you, make you piss in a cup or make you go to a clinic, but they'll be contracted with clinics all over.
Yes, sir. No, they sent me to a clinic. It's kind of weird with my situation because they have a contract. I think it's every 3 to 5 years, and every 3 to 5 years, whoever accepts the bid, it's a new company. So this new company that I'm with, they only been here for about maybe 3 months, and they're based.
Oh, I see a problem. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're based out of I don't know if it's Louisiana or Alabama. So
Oh,
they're the ones that actually came up with this SAP program, which like I said, I never heard of this before because I took plenty of randoms there, and this is the only time that it was a hiccup.
yeah.
So yeah, everything like I said is still brand new to me. I'm still in the dark on what I got to do when I go to the job. I'm not sure how that's gonna work out, but yeah.
And you've already went through the SAP with Charles?
I think we're not.
We're currently in the process of the SAP,
Yeah.
Okay.
but Will, you saying drill down on that a little bit. What exactly to tell them? What do you mean about that?
As far as with the company?
Yeah, the SAP process and going back to work. I think you
Yeah,
into
so
something right there.
because I've been there for about 5 to 6 years, right? And I ain't like I said, they gave you a drug screening when you hired on. They did randoms here and there.
Right,
But with the new company, you had to take a drug test to hire on, even though I was already there. Everything
right.
went fine with that. And then this random that came through, which I'm here for now. I don't know how it's gonna like the future in this. I don't know if I got to go pay on my own dollar to go take this drug screening whenever they call. If I'm on or off the job, I'm still naive to what I got to do.
Okay, as far as that, the employer, this according to the SAP, the employer is totally in charge of the follow-up process. Step 6, they send you out to the place where they have an account with, typically. You do not go and pay for your own follow-up. Yes,
Hold,
go ahead,
Charles.
talk to me.
No, that's not fully correct. Most companies, if you're lucky, will, like Tribe, they will pay for follow-ups. Other companies, you have to pay for your own follow-ups.
Yeah, you can negotiate. It's in the CFRs that you can negotiate with your employer in order to get hired, that you will pay for your own randoms and follow-ups. But according to the CFR also, they want it to be employer controlled. So the
Yeah,
employer typically is the main player with the follow-ups that send you out for them.
they could probably take it out of your paycheck.
Yeah, there's room for negotiation if you do whatever you can to get hired. A lot of drivers say, I'll pay for my own drug testing. So yeah, but the CFR says that the employer is in charge of it. You cannot, the point is you cannot go and do your own follow-ups, be on your own to do it. That destroys the whole process, the concept of follow-ups. They're supposed to be secret randoms. The employer may have reasonable suspicion, reasonable cause, or just want to jump on you, and he'll send you out to keep you honest. He'll send you out. That's what the whole concept is.
So,
Understood.
is there any more questions before I get into the next subject about getting employed, especially if you have under 6 months employment? Because I know Miss McGee here says she just got out of school. And I know earlier we talked about, I'll help her out with that real quick, but I want to give our listeners some advice on how to handle that situation. But before I go on, is there anybody else that have questions?
I just got one more. I'm sorry, I don't make sense.
No,
Don't be
talk.
sorry. Hey, that's why I asked first before I switch to the next subject.
And I mean, and also, I mean, I guess with Mr. Will, maybe with his job being that he deals with electric is why they feel that it's a very important and you can get hurt.
Right.
So I think that's why they attacked his situation.
Right.
But I mean, just what I was saying like earlier about the situation about like with Mr. Charles and the program. Let's just say let's take the CDL process out. Let's just say if someone's coming to you for help, right?
Right.
Of course you're gonna put them through a list of things, and they're gonna follow ups. They're gonna meetings with you and stuff like that. And when you really notice that they're doing better, or they're at a point where you feel like, okay, you've overcome your situation and you're getting to be, in a better state of mind or a better process, then you would probably let them go at that point. Or it might be less phone calls. You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean by let them go? Go into that.
What I'm saying is like, all right, if someone comes to you, let's just say, Mr. Charles, and it's not about CDL, and I don't want to really veer off the subject, but what I'm saying is basically help, right? You're sitting down with them, they have meetings with you, you're taking them through the process of rehabilitating their minds and their bodies and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay. Now with that, they're gonna come to a certain point where, okay, Mr. Charles is taking me through. I feel stronger. I'm not going down that bad route again, and I'm on more of a focus level where I'm doing better. See, that's what I mean. Like with the CDL process, it's going to be a point where all right, you messed up. You say, all right, it done cost me so much amount of money to mess up. I had to go through all of this to get right. You know what I mean? And now I can go on. But with the situation with the follow-ups and the companies that you're working with that don't care about that,
right,
it sets you back and starts you all the way over again.
That's true. That's true.
That's the only reason why I was saying a delegated person. That's what I'm saying, because it works for everyone. It works for bringing people into the SAP program, taking them down the road and going through the different phases and getting them better and straight, and now they can move on from it. But it's like, if you always gonna go 5 months, 4 months, and then you got to start over again, this thing is gonna prolong for years and years.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
It's kind of like somebody on probation or parole.
Yeah.
They mess up one time, now they got to get extended or they go back to prison. Another issue is SAP drivers or anybody in a SAP program. They get looked down upon even after completing the SAP program, because after it's done, it doesn't go off your record for 5 years. But for that 5 years, you're gonna struggle. You're gonna struggle. Not saying it's impossible, but you got to do the extra effort to find a job, to explain the situation, to do this and that. It's like you served your time, like why has it got to be like that?
From a SAP perspective, I think you're making a really good point, and I will say it again. It may be need to look at to have a liaison right in that area to take over the follow-ups from the employer. Because a lot of drivers stay in the follow-up phase, step 6, too long. Absolutely too long, and it just drags on.
Charles, that's something you and we can work. Like, I don't even know how to begin with something like that, but we have talked about that. Or some sort of guide, But I'm going to look more into doing something like that. I just don't know where to begin, because we do want to do more to help drivers, and if it helps them, get through the SAP process quickly and have the companies actually follow up, then so be it. Like, that'd be worth it.
But the flow chart. Go ahead, Desiree.
I think 5 years is absurd.
Yes, I agree. As a step, I agree.
It is ridiculous. I mean, so yeah, if you guys have issues in the future, be sure to just let us know. Email us, call us, talk to us, because we're here to help the best we can. And the liaison thing, it's a very good idea. I'll see what I can do, and maybe some viewers out there might know a lot more than me, and might start something up themselves. So definitely work on that.
As a drug and alcohol counselor, Miss Lewis.
Yes.
Say it again, what you just said, and say it real loud so everybody in the nation can hear that.
5 years is absurd.
It really is.
That just, maybe 3, but 5 years is absolutely, that's too much. Because for me personally, right? Like you said, we find ourselves in a situation and we have to jump through so many hoops just to prove and deem ourselves worthy again for whatever the profession is. That to have that sitting at 5 years, people can change.
Yep.
People can change in a matter of 6 months, so to have that sit in there for 5 years is crazy. The fact that, which is news to me, that drivers are still in limbo on the 6 steps, that's crazy in and of itself. Why are you going to drivers just to have them running your, and I get it because it's a business and they don't really want to take you off the road, but it's crazy. And if you're going to place drivers in the SAP program and you're going to put these implications on them, there has to be a better system to make sure that they're getting out of it and that the employees that's taking them on are held more responsible and accountable. And that's how I take it when I've gone through my search of looking for a job, that maybe it's a hassle and they don't want to do it, and that's fine. But for the ones who choose to continue doing it, and I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, right, or anyone else, because I'm a SAP driver. But if you're going to continue to do it for the right reasons and make sure that you're helping your drivers follow up so that they can get out of it, because it's all around. Everybody eats, everybody gets to benefit off of this program faster.
Like I've always said, I look at SAP drivers as harder workers because they got that second chance. And I feel like if a company was more dedicated and taking care of their SAP drivers, those drivers would be more dedicated to staying with them for as long as they need.
Absolutely.
It's funny that you say about the limbo. I've been in limbo for 2 years now. I still hold my CDO, but I found something else that I really enjoy, and I got out of trucking for a little bit. Plus, I have a newborn daughter. Well, actually, she just turned 4 days ago, her first birthday. Yeah, thank you. And so I'm out of trucking for a little bit, but that doesn't mean like forever. I'm always gonna have my CDO, but I know as soon as I get back into trucking, I gotta start the SAP process all over again. But I'm gonna make sure they're going to get my follow-ups done.
And here's something we want to look at when she's talking about the 5 years, and I've known this to be true. I don't like Miss McGee. Me and her are going through the assessment. She's a little sassy with me,
Oh boy,
she always got some. She always got something.
Really. Really,
just her mouth is kind of reckless.
What happened here? Let us know.
Oh no. This is a little story. This is a theory I got.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
I can punish her by putting her on 4 years of follow-ups. She even got a refusal, which means it's no known substance use. It's not known. She could take me to court and win, because the substance is not known. It's a refusal. But I can, Desiree is right. That 5-year thing is like a punishment. To me, it's like a punishment. Now, it does nobody any good. Go ahead.
Even with traffic tickets, they see CDL on your license and they want to up the price on the ticket, on the ticket. And that's crazy. So it's just, I'm not saying that standards shouldn't be in place, but for a nation of people, a group of people who keep this nation running, like, I'm not saying be lenient, but come on, 5 years. You're never going to be able to put a robot in a trucker seat. So let's be for real.
That's right. Yes.
But like I said earlier, they probably said the 5 years when they had an influx of drivers. Wait till there's a shortage of drivers again. Things will change. They always, like right now, they say that there's a shortage of drivers. The ADA or the ATA, the American Trucker Association, say they're like 390,000 drivers short, whatever. That's BS. If that was the case, they'd pay more. They would have every SAP driver in a seat right now, because I know there's a lot looking for a job. Those numbers are just a little skewed. So you just have to. It's the politics. Sorry.
Yeah, politics. Yeah. I also got to say that I'm not an advocate for employers or MROs or drivers. As a SAP, I can't be an advocate for anybody, but I'm an advocate for mental health and recovery. And when you got somebody now, I hope it's clear to all the bureaucrats that had their torches lined up to go chase me, around town. When you got somebody suffering with follow-ups needlessly for an extended years, is that going to help anybody's mental health? It's definitely no longer a deterrent. You know, so you guys got any feedback on that? How about you, Mr. Will? Follow-ups for 36 months.
It's crazy to me. I was thinking to myself when you guys were talking, and just say the same situation, right? Say the people that have had a diluted urine analysis, right? So would this process repeat? Would I have to go through a SAP program again if I was observed and that same result came back?
Oh, well,
Because I
Deep.
offered to be observed, because I felt
Oh,
like
you're gonna be observed. If you're in the SAP program, you're guaranteed they're gonna watch you pee. That's how it is for the next how many observation tests you have to do from now on.
okay.
Now
repeat your question real
But if it
nicely.
does, I'm sorry, if it does come out diluted, right?
Right.
And you're observed, then what's the process then? The same thing that got me here in the first place, but somebody's watching me now and I get the same results. What happens then?
Well, the clearinghouse is very black and white about it. There's no gray area. Either positive or negative. Refusals are under negative. I mean positives.
if it's not a
Violation.
negative, it's a positive.
Yeah,
Plain and
if it's
simple.
not a negative, it's a positive, and they don't want to hear a whole lot of gray area talk from drivers or anybody else. You're gonna get slapped with a violation.
Even if they're watching you.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
So
dirty. It's dirty. It's a dirty game, man. It's all political. It's all money. That's really all it is. And speaking of money, Charles, how let me ask you guys, Mr. Wells, Mr. Gonzalez, Root and Freight, and Mickey, where she left, I think. All right, well, let me ask you guys. When you were looking for Charles, how did you guys find him?
Well,
Word of mouth.
Where?
Word of mouth. Someone else referred me to him.
Word of mouth. That's always the best thing. What about you, Gonzalez?
So I was actually given the website for SAP list, and in my area, I believe there was like five people that held a SAP counseling certificates. Mr. Charles was the only one that was willing to work with me because everybody else there was no, because I'm supposed to return in 30 days. I want to return in 30 days, because I'm in limbo too. It ain't been no 2 years like but I've been staring at these walls going crazy. I got to get out where I stay and get back to work. And everybody else, was the prices they had and their timelines. They wanted you to complete this. It wasn't no 30 days. I think the closest one I was finding was up to 4 weeks.
Mhm.
Wow. What about you, Mr. Wells?
me, it's quite funny. I mean, a friend of mine told me about him, and then what I did was I actually went online, and when I went online, I saw you guys, both of you guys, Bradley and Mr. Charles. You guys had did another. You was doing another show with. You were talking about SAP.
You're talking about Dion, where we were looking about the companies, huh?
Right. That's
Yeah,
what I saw. So then I was like,
Yeah.
I saw how
Dion.
Mr. Charles was like when I heard him speak and everything he was saying. He was like, "Hey, look, this is what has to happen. This is what you got to do." So then I had called him, and I don't know if Mr. Charles remember. I had called Mr. Charles like in August, maybe a year last year in August. I called Mr. Charles, and I was talking to him because I was telling him that my job actually didn't require it wasn't a big I should say a big branching with me because my job I'm I have operators that work under me. I don't really if I don't have to get in that truck, I won't have to get in that truck. I'll put someone else in that truck. But under the statute of what I do, I have to be certified that a CDL. So
Yeah.
when my situation kind of prolonged a little while until they start talking about downgrading. Once they want to start downgrading, I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? Because at the end of it, I work hard to get my CDL. I had my CDL since 2011. When I was in New York City, is when I went. Yeah,
That's a long time.
yes. I went and I never had a situation in New York. I've never had a situation until I came here to Georgia. And I went through, and every time I had the urine test, it was left and right in New York City. I was taking them, having no problems. you know, but there was more of a faster pace down there. And what I mean by that is this: you come there. Normally, when you're sent there, you have an appointment. So when I come into that window, if it's 1 o'clock, they maybe have 1 or 2 people in front of me. Oh, we're gonna get right with you, Mr. Wells. Have a seat. You know, boom. I go. Come on in here. Come in there. Use the bathroom. Hit them with the test. Good night. Take care. And I had no problems. But over here, and I will mention the clinic. I am going to mention the clinic, Caduceus. And that's one of the worst places. Yeah, everybody, you laughing. I know you laughing. I know you
Why
laughing.
you did it? I'm not going to mention Caduceus.
I had to because they, you know, to me, it's like, you know, when you go through, when you're sitting in the waiting room and, you know, you look through the little window where the receptionist is sitting, you see a lot of people back in there, they're laughing and they're joking and they're talking about tomorrow and yesterday. What is taking so long for you guys to start
there
doing
she
this?
is.
Yeah, what is taking so long for you guys to start doing what
Yep.
we need to be having done here? You know, you're having fun. We got to get back to work. So now we got to sit and wait, go through the process, and then, you know, I mean, it just didn't make a lot of sense. But
So
I'm just saying, when I did see Mr. Charles and you guys, you know, I was very interested in finding out more about the program. And I
well,
called Mr. Charles and I talked to him and I told him, I said, he was like, all right, well, when you're ready, I explained it to him what happened with me. And he said, all right, well, when you're ready, you call me, we'll set it up, you know, and we'll be done with it. That's exactly what he said. Then he also said, because I started asking him numerous questions, right? He said, look, you're overthinking this. He told me, calm down. You're overthinking this process. So I said, okay. I took a break, you know, took a breath. But then when I came back and I called him, we actually picked up almost like where we left off. And hey, I'm on my way. You know,
I'm on my way. Miss McGee, we lost you for a minute. I was asking the group where how they heard of Charles and how everything went.
Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, I don't know what happened. My phone just went out.
That's all.
I kind of contacted Mr. Charles probably like right after I got my violation in 22. And I know you probably don't remember, but I called maybe like in 22, 23, and I was like, I'm going to be ready. I emailed him, let him know I'm going to be ready this month. But, you know, life was happening, so I finally got him in 2025. Mr. Charles is very sweet, very informative, patient, kind, encouraging. Because, like I said, my biggest fear kind of is me not having any experience. You get what I'm saying? And trying to land a job. But like I said, my fiance, soon to be husband, doesn't have any violation. So I kind of am still familiar with the truck, being that he is a truck driver. But so I think that Mr. Charles was, you know, heaven sent. I seen his name. I'm actually want to move to Georgia next year anyway. So he was in Georgia. I was like, yep, I'm gonna get myself provided in Georgia. But yeah, he's very encouraging. I'm really grateful for him.
Miss McGee, I got a couple solutions for you.
Okay.
I can't really say this for everybody out there who has no experience, but one, get into tow truck driving, if you can, if that's something you might be interested in. Sometimes they have wreckers. Now, yeah, they might do the clearinghouse for the wrecker part, but regardless, you're still getting that experience of hauling something, right? And it pays pretty decent. Next, if your husband is going to become a truck driver, look into maybe trying to save some money, buying your own semi truck, going through a consortium through him basically. So how I'll explain that, Charles? Like basically he'll have his own truck consortium and then he'll hire her and then go through the go through his DOT, his stuff.
Absolutely, yes.
You see where I'm getting that loophole? Like,
but I have something to say on that right there. I didn't want to mention that, but we actually have our own LLC, and we actually pay semi insurance already because the company that he was working for is a moving company, and we created our own business, which that kind of they didn't basically uphold their end of the bargain, so we're kind of like stuck paying $1,400 for a semi that we actually don't have, because you know when you get your own logistics, you have 90 days to actually have insurance on it. And we've been paying insurance since January 2024. So I'm kind of glad you said that. I didn't to Mr. Charles because I didn't want to. I wanted to do everything the correct way as far as like trying to find a company so he could, you know, give them that return to duty letter and let them follow the plan and stuff like that. But I'm kind of glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. So another thing is, you know, I don't know how the whole with the company side, what consortiums they use, but you know, getting your own drug testing facility, going through all that, that's good. But another thing is getting into driving dump trucks. A lot of companies I know, Class B, they don't require like, or they don't really check the clearinghouse. Another thing is a lot of companies will require you to even drive for them have a 6 months experience. So if you drive that minimum 6 months, so if you drive that dump truck for 6 months, that's still technically experience. Find something local like a mom and pop place, that's still 6 months. I mean, is it okay if I asked you what did you fail for?
She said amphetamine, and I'm sorry guys, I am gonna say she said because I still don't believe that was my urine, but she said amphetamine.
All right, so I mean, as long as it didn't say methamphetamine, I mean, I think you're okay. I mean, I've actually heard of drivers with a lot worse that ended up having great driving careers. So, so literally, when it comes up in the clearinghouse, because it shows exactly what you failed for, just explain your story. Some companies are very, like, some companies don't give a shit. They just need a driver. So, I would look into like just doing some small stuff like Class B, like dump trucking, or towing, and or like the owner operator thing, going through a consortium. Charles, you got anything to say on that? Maybe.
Yeah, there was some thoughts about consortiums that can also be very helpful to the drivers. That's one thing as a SAP I make sure I do. There's several things I make sure I do. You have a violation posted on the clearinghouse. That means you're not exactly working right now. You don't have a whole lot of ton of money to be paying a SAP outrageous amounts of money and then have to go to sessions and pay for them. It's important, is my philosophy, is to make sure my SAP fee is low as possible because you need to be able to afford it. So my SAP fee is only $400, you know, one of the most affordable in the nation. Now that's one thing, and that's good. Another thing is that drivers need to know about consortiums. If you do not find an employer after you do steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, to do step 5, the return to duty step, you can always legally use a consortium. Now, drivers are not aware of this, or they don't even know what a consortium is. That information is not being laid out for drivers, and it's very important. That's why I always email a list of consortiums right after the assessment, a list of consortiums that I know and they're reputable. They can do step 5 for you for a small fee. So you can avoid the employer to be hired by an employer and have it done by a consortium. Now you got steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 done on the clearinghouse. Basically, when you get a job as a company driver, you just show up. They see you already went through the return to duty process and it's clicked on step 5. They just hand you the keys and put you under the wheel.
But I'm talking about something with step 6 for follow-ups. If she got like her husband got a CDL or bought their own truck, or she has her LLC, I know that if you're an owner operator, you have to go through a consortium to give yourself your own drug test. So he can also set up that consortium to give her random drug tests for their follow-ups.
That's a good question. I was going to ask that, Mr. Charles.
Repeat that again. I kind of got lost on that one. Say it again.
Okay. So she has to do her follow-ups, right?
Right.
Now, since her husband has the LLC of the truck, you know.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And as an owner operator, you're supposed to file through a consortium to do your random drug test. Well, he can technically hire her and make her do her follow-ups. Yeah.
It's done all the time. That yes,
Yep.
you can go under his consortium.
Yep.
You will his consortium. if you're going to work under his DOT number, they'll just take it over. And they will be your administrator for all drug testing. So absolutely. You got
And
that, Mr. McGee?
Okay, say that one more time, Mr. Charles, because he doesn't have a consortium. He doesn't. He has no violation.
Okay.
But we actually co-owner of this company.
Then
well.
Go get a consortium. I'm saying
Okay.
go get a consortium. Charles, I don't know if you know how to help them set that up or find a consortium.
I talked to Miss Banks yesterday.
Okay. This is how it works. Now, when you are an owner operator and you're acting as an independent driver, no, not a company driver, you got your own LLC and etc., you will have to use a consortium.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, because it's a conflict of interest to send yourself off to drug testing. You can't do that. So you would have to hire a consortium, which is just basically a drug testing agency. And they will do steps 5 and 6. The return to duty step and the follow-up steps.
This is going to be a highlight, just so everybody knows.
And they will take the place of an employer. So your husband, he's got his own LLC and he's acting as an independent operator because he has his own DOT number.
Yes,
he has to have a consortium. They will take care of him with his SAP process, and you can ride right under him. He can hire you and put you right under that consortium that he's using.
Yep. And then you can do the follow-ups through him.
Is that clear? Talk to me.
Yes, sir. So I could do my follow-ups through
his consortium. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Yes, and most consortiums are really good at staying on top of it because that's the only thing they do. You know.
Charles,
thank you, Bradley. Thank you, Mr. Charles.
No problem.
Marvin.
Isn't that what I was just saying?
Well,
that a liaison.
Yeah, like a liaison.
Yeah, only if you got your own DOT number, though. That's the thing. That's the trick, Mr. Marvin. If you're a company driver working for an employer, there's just no liaison. There's no consortium. The employer's in charge of it. And there you go. Now you're sludging through mud, just like you're talking about it, and you're tired of it.
But I think we came up with a one really decent solution for a lot of people out there that might have their own truck, just don't have their CDL, want to get their CDL, or might have failed a drug test while getting their CDL. If you get into the trucking game and you already got your own truck, but you are in the SAP program, go through a consortium. Just go through a consortium. There's a leasing company I know of. I got to call a buddy of mine. He's doing that. The leasing company is actually through Schneider. And he is doing his follow-ups. Schneider doesn't hire SAP drivers, Charles. They don't. But the leasing company doesn't care because he's buying that truck, but they're going through a different consortium. So he's actually getting his own follow-ups done through Schneider in its own way. I don't know how to explain it, but there's ways around, if you have no experience getting into a trucking company. You might have to lease a truck and hope to God you can make your payments, but there's a ways around it. I'm
sorry.
Go ahead. No, talk to me. Go ahead.
So Bradley and Mr. Charles, what you're basically saying is for people that are SAP drivers that probably don't have any experience, it's probably best, or have experience, it's best to try to be owner operators because you don't have to go through much of a hassle as far as getting hired on.
It's not easy to become owner operator. I mean, that's going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars just for the insurance alone and the DOT numbers. But if you have that opportunity, if you have that kind of money, sure. I mean, for the people with no experience, like I could, if you only have 6 months experience, I can get you a job. But for anything under 6 months, it's very hard. And that's why I suggest towing. I suggest doing your class B, getting your experience in, and then maybe saving money. Like this is where it gets kind of like a roadblock for even me. Charles, you got anything to say on that?
Well, what I do have to say is that always know that this is in play. You can, when you get steps done 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm out of the picture, the SAP is out of the picture, you can always go to a consortium to get step 5 done. You don't have to wait and get hired by an employer for them to do step 5 in the hiring process, the return to duty step.
Mhm.
Now, be mindful that step 5 is the big one. That's the big step. If your license is prohibited, which is going to be prohibited, it becomes valid. If you got downgraded by the state and that awful letter that looks like, you need to be in the witness protection program, the way they're coming at you with that letter, you know, you become, if you got, you become valid again. Your license get reinstated immediately when step 5 happens. So step 5 is the step that just cleans up your CDL. It's the big one. Go to a consortium and get it done for a small fee. And that means the fee, some range under $100. And you
Yeah.
will approach then you go look for employment. You can go to employers and they will see you already got step 5 done. They love that. So, they just want to hand you the keys, like I say, and put you under the wheel. So step 5 is something that's in play for you guys, not only to my peeps right here on this cast, but also everybody around the nation that's listening to this podcast. Step 5 is in play. Think about it. And you need a SAP to tell you these things.
Now, we got to also mention, Charles, we talked about a little bit in the beginning of the show, fraud.
Yeah.
We, you were mentioning, paying another fee to like a consortium. This is completely different than people charging $100 per drug test, per assessment, and then coming up to $1,000 for their SAP only to get nothing done. Charles, you've had an issue.
Yeah. If I'm cutting you off because you just hit on it right there. Now, when you approach a consortium to do step 5, like I mentioned, you should be able to get some kind of consultation from your SAP about this, and they can lead you in the right direction. You shouldn't be out there on your own, twisting in the wind, trying to find your own consortium, or don't know anything what a consortium is. Now, I always have a list of consortiums that I know. I worked with them for years, and I know their prices are competitive, and I know these guys ain't creeps and they ain't cheaps, and they aren't monsters. No, they like the little the water boys that come up to your window and they snatch the phone out your hand. That some consortiums are water boys. So I tell you, there's something that was a news broadcast for all SAPs newsletter.
Would you like me to share it on the screen here, Charles?
Yeah, put it on the screen and I can read it off. And I want you guys to see this.
This is for everybody watching, listening, all that.
SAP drivers went through hell in November, December, in January, February, and they still going through it. It's getting a little bit better, but you guys have been really hoodwinked. The ones that went in that direction. There's been popping up a lot of consortiums that were straight up frauds. I mean, felony fraud. There were people pretending to be consortiums saying they will take your case they will do your SAP process for only $100. That's what I've been hearing. $100. So yeah, you're not going to go to Mr. Charles when he's charging 400 or anybody else. You're gonna go to them. They take your money and you didn't hear from them again. And they pretty rich right now.
So I got it pulled up here, and we have one of the stories. Would you like me to read, or where you're telling the story about the driver who? Or do you
here it is. I got it up right here. It says, "Here is what I've learned." This is one of the bureaucrats that's wants to put this newsletter out. Here's what I've learned in the last few weeks. The clearinghouse around drivers are able to enroll into a consortium for their return to duty test has opened up the door to a lot of pop-up consortiums. That's what they call them. They pop-up consortiums. He said he's discovered they do much more than just a return to duty test, even though the clearinghouse states that they have a limited function. So they're saying to you drivers, oh, we can do so many follow-ups so quickly. We get you through the follow-up phase in like 2 or 3 weeks. The federal regulation says you have to do so many follow-ups in 12 months. The minimum is 12 months. Any questions from you guys?
Mhm.
I have a question, Mr. Charles.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, like, I'm gonna be on step 5. Well, I am on. Well, yeah. Once I get that, okay. So that's my next step, step 5.
Mhm.
So the question that I have, I think Bradley mentioned it earlier. So you stay on the program for 12 months because you have
Mhm.
to do so many follow-ups within that 12 months. So after you get done doing your follow-up and they put in your step 6, does your violations turn back to 0 then, and then that the violation comes off, or does it still show up for 5 years after you complete step 6?
Good question. Good question. When here's step 6. After after 12 months, you have to do a minimum of 6 follow-ups in a minimum of 12 months. After all the follow-ups and after 6 months, the employer will enter in the date of that last follow-up into employer entry number 6. Now that activates the clearinghouse, and it is supposed to activate immediately. You you had one open violation on the face of the clearinghouse on your dashboard. When the employer does that, enter in that date in employer entry number 6, you have 0 open violations on the face of your clearinghouse, on the face of your step 6 or your dashboard. You have 0 open violations, which means technically you're no longer a SAP driver. However, it does stay lodged in the clearinghouse in your violation summary somewhere that you previously were in the SAP process. That stays for 5 years. Typically, employers don't care about that. They want to know if you have an open violation on the face of that clearinghouse, one open violation.
Yep.
That makes sense?
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
So 5 years, yeah. But you want to have a big 0 on your dashboard saying you have 0 open violations. That's why completing step 6 in a timely manner is so important for drivers. Step 6 gets you off the SAP process, or you're no longer a SAP driver. And what does
But
that mean? No drag on insurance, and also no drag on employers having to worry about the clearinghouse and this driver.
well, Charles, I wouldn't say the insurance because I have yet to be proven false on that. That the companies are lying about the insurance thing. So,
Yeah, well, that's the
um,
word that they have, that
that's
it's a
the
drag on
word.
it.
But
Yeah.
I have done so. I even tried to get my own truck insurance just to see. Still can't find nothing. Um. Anyway, I haven't pulled up on the screen the clearinghouse updated and all that. But yeah, after your 6 steps is done, or after your follow ups are done, it is marked on the clearinghouse 1 violation, but it's closed. And that after the 5 years, it'll go down to 0. Correct?
Well, after 5 years, no.
Yeah. After
So
5, it goes down like you had no violation at all. It disappears.
now it is taken off the clearinghouse that you had a previous violation after
That's what I'm
5
saying.
years.
Yeah.
It's all cleaned up then.
Yeah. Then you're just a fresh start. You're back to being normal again. All right. So
Now let's get that straight, because that's a gray area. You are technically normal after 12 months and all the follow-ups are done, and you have 0 open violations. Technically, you are
technically,
now normal.
So
yeah,
when you
It's
go
just
I
in,
should make that correct. Thank you for correcting me, Charles.
so when you go in to call, right? Because as I would call the employers and everything, I'd be like, "Do you all take SAP drivers?" So that means at the completion of my last test on my
and they
6th
do step
step,
6.
I
Yeah.
no longer have to call and ask, "Do you all take SAP drivers?"
I
Because I
would
was
not.
no
I would. Yeah,
considered.
that is
Got
correct. You do not.
I wouldn't say anything to them about SAP. I think Navajo is one of those companies. When I called them, they said that they will take you after step 6. So meaning that you have to do all your follow ups, all that.
Mhm.
But typically, I try not to. I wouldn't mention SAP if I was. If I finished all my steps like the step 6, I wouldn't even tell them, to be honest. Let them find out if they say anything, but it's such a minimal mark on the clearinghouse after you're done with your follow ups.
So Bradley, I have a question. You mentioned Tribe, but I recently called Tribe, and Tribe said they don't hire SAP drivers.
They-
So, are you speaking from previous experience, like maybe the past couple of years?
Last year, and I think they don't hire SAP drivers because of me. Because one, I referred so many people to them, never got one referral bonus, by the way, to them, and everybody I referred was SAP drivers. I think they just had too many. Plus, we've kind of been talking about how they haven't done anything with the follow-ups. I've kind of exposed all that, so maybe at this point it's kind of my fault that it's too much of a headache even for them. So I don't know. They had, while I was there, when I talked to the recruiter Kyrie, he actually said that they were going to stop hiring SAP drivers, but it was only a temporary thing. So I don't know.
I heard per speaking with a recruiter, they said after the laws had changed recently, what was that, November, December, a lot of companies backed away from hiring SAP drivers.
Yeah, Charles, we talked about that. The laws that's such a misconstrued law. People, here's the thing about that. They were already doing that before it came public in November. When I was a SAP driver, or when I first became SAP, my CDL was downgraded before I got to step 5 to a regular driver's license, but I didn't have to go back to school. Now it's a more federal thing where every state is doing it. I don't know. Charles, you want to help me out here? Back me up, because all it is if you don't complete your step 5, your CDL is downgraded until you complete your step 5.
Yeah. When you go through the SAP and go through the SAP process, bear in mind the SAP process is only steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now the SAP is out of the picture. Everything's between you, the employer, and the clearinghouse. So that means you got to do step 5, the big one that cleans up your license. You will stay downgraded, and you still will not be able to really use your CDL until step 5 is done. When step 5 is done, it cleans up your license. If you downgrade it, you get reinstated. If you prohibit it, you become valid. Step 5 is very important to get done. It just cleans up your license and all. Then you can ball up that letter that you got, and throw it in the trash.
Hey, Miss McGee, by the way, I was looking at my list of companies that hire SAP drivers here.
Okay.
When you do get your experience, if you and your husband are still looking for a company, give it like 2 years. I know it's farther down the road. There's a company out of Missouri called Whit Bros. After you've completed your SAP program completely, like step 6, they will hire you. They are by far, from everybody I have looked up to hire SAP drivers, probably one of the best companies. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Are you
just a
gonna
future
put it in
reference.
the description?
Yeah, so I'm gonna send this email over to Charles, and I'll have him email it to you. Basically, me and my girlfriend, while we were driving down the road, we just took names of every company that we seen while we are going down the road and called them and just asked them, and we just put check marks on the side of places that hire and don't hire. So I have a list for anybody on the podcast or on the show that want it. So,
Oh, thank you.
Please and thank you.
all right.
And I think after I want to say after 3 years, they say if you do nothing about it when you're downgraded, they make you have to take the CDL thing over again after 3 years.
That might be a misconception. See, when you
I've
hear
never heard that.
3 years has to do with the query. They do a background check on you for go through 3 years. So
Like
that's what the 3 years is about. I repeat, when they do a query or a background check on you to hire you, they'll go back 3 years.
No, I'm not talking about the hire. I'm sorry. I'm talking about
No. That's where the 3 years come in. That's the misconception. Now, when it comes to if you do nothing, it stays on your clearinghouse forever until you do something.
Like right now,
It stays there for 10 years. That's wrong. The answer is if you do nothing, it just stays there.
yeah, like perfect example. I've been stuck on step 5 for the past 2 years, but doesn't mean I can't get a job. It's just I can't get my follow-ups done, so I'm still in the clearinghouse in the SAP.
Well,
it's just,
Mr. Marvin, what did you mean?
what I said, with the CDL, like with DDS, with the driver services, right?
Right.
If they downgrade you behind the CDL situation,
right.
If you get downgraded to your regular C license, if you wait 3 years, if you stay there 3 years, downgraded. When you go to redo your CDL, you have to go and take the whole process over again. That's what they told me.
Okay. Well, I have to look at that. They could be true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know. I haven't heard of that part about it.
Okay.
So I won't speak on that. It may be a situation where if you wait, if it's after 3 years, you have to do your certification testing all over again from the beginning. That might be true.
They want you to start over again.
Yeah, but when I hear 3 years, I know they are referring to the background check.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, anybody else needs any more questions? Or
Ms. Desiree, Ms. Lewis?
I think that was the other young lady.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So, Charles, let's go back to what we were talking about for the scammers. These pop-up consortiums. So,
yeah.
Where'd you leave off at with the pop-up ones, the pop-up CTPAs? And
yeah, if you like, you could go ahead and read, especially with that's third paragraph 1 CTPA. When you see the word C-TPA, that's consortium. Okay.
Consortium.
Yeah. So right there where it says 1 CTPA, go ahead, Brad, and read that paragraph.
So yeah, 1 CTPA promises to get drivers through step 6, even when he doesn't have a job. Now, they implement the SAPS follow-up testing plan because they want to help the driver get graduated from this crazy SAP plan. Oddly, every SAP they work with sets up the same follow-up testing plan. 6 tests is 12 months. Charles, we know you and I both have heard of one company. I don't want to say it on here to cause any problems, but you know who I'm talking about. They're talked about in a lot of SAP Facebook groups. I even was thinking about it, but then like when you and I talked about it, I was like, oh, that's illegal. That is
It is.
illegal.
It's fraud. It's illegal. It's felony. Yeah.
Yeah.
A consortium cannot take you through step 6 if you don't have a job. The only way a consortium can take you through step 6 if you have a DOT number and you're an independent operator and you hired them to be your consortium. Then they take you through steps 5 and 6. But if you're still a company driver and do not have a DOT number, they can only do step 5. They cannot do step 6. And if they take you through step 6, trouble. Yeah, like Jamie Foxx says, trouble.
I'm wondering if this is the same company, because when the person said I was quoting from the letter here, it says, when I said that wasn't their responsibility, the onboarder laughed at me and said, who's going to stop us?
Look at that. Yeah, gangsters. And they got a point because the clearinghouse is so underwater, you know. And I don't want to go into politics, but that last president, he was asleep. He was taking a nap. He was taking a nap. So, and people knew it, and people were gaming this system, and they told them they flat out tell you what you're gonna do. Do something, say something, do something. You know. So,
Charles, do you think people should pay more than $400 for a SAP counselor?
I'm be getting into high water and weeds. In my opinion, in my philosophy for Focus 7 with Charles Erby, no. Now, the reason why they pay, there's a lot of moving parts of reasons why they may just be justified in paying it, really following to the letter the metabytes of how much weed they found in the report, and going back and forth with phone calls to an MRO and talking to that arrogant, you know what, and then this and that, and then no, and fighting over how many parcels of weed they found and the cutoff amounts. You guys understand what I'm saying?
Or paying $5,000 only for the SAP counselor to take off from you?
Yeah,
disappear?
that happens a lot. But also part of the game is, and I don't believe in this philosophy, is I'm going to hit you with a good SAP fee. Then I'm going to turn you over to someone else to do the treatment, and they're going to get them a nice little cut. And then you got to go in for more sessions, and they're going to pass you on to somebody else, and they get a nice little cut. And everybody hanging out at the convenience store is got counting money.
we have kind of one of issue from this letter I was reading. So you and I have a pretty good rapport online, and word of mouth alone, just for you, Charles. I mean, people know you, companies know you,
Yes.
and you've been brought up on the internet, on YouTube, and I feel like nowadays with the internet being such a good way to help business, to promote yourself, but it's also a good way to promote shady business. And unfortunately, it says right here, these bad actors have a strong presence on the web. Shady
Mhm.
activities happening after the ODAPC made a virtual.
Mhm.
What is that? The O.
That's the pretty much the White House or the federal government that oversees the FMCSA. Uh,
Interesting.
yeah.
So it says started happening after ODAPC made a made virtual assessments a permanent part of the regulations. While
Hmm.
some SAPs celebrated ODAPC's announcement that virtual assessments would continue, none of us realized how client loads would eventually be affected. For a few SAPs, there's no boundaries. One SAP's website even states he can provide SAP services in all 48 states.
Hmm.
Isn't so? What? Aren't can't you do that, Charles, or no?
That's where we get into the area of maybe a particular bureaucrat is exceeding his bounds and wants to create the SAP process in his own image. And he knows who I'm talking about. And I will stop there. Legally, according to all the areas and consortium areas for SAP, I am an ICADC, International Certified Alcohol Drug Counselor.
Yes, sir.
I'm able to practice in the entire United States continental piece of land and Hawaii and Alaska. Point blank, period. Anybody says anything other than that, they lose in court. Now, why is this applicable? Because there's another certification you can get. You can get what's called a CAC. A lot of SAPs are CACs, and they could be a CAC and qualify as a SAP, but a CAC is regional. He's regional. He can only practice in a certain area or maybe even a certain state. Now, as long as I got the qualifications as far as having the criteria to practice as a SAP, I can do that. It's under the ICRC, not the SAP. I'm getting into tall weeds right now because I'm talking clinical. But the point is, I can practice all over the nation. And in fact, I can practice, I think, in China and Israel because they cover some of the map covers them also. I can legally practice as a drug and alcohol counselor in those other nations.
So that person that the person that they're referring to, you kind of know who they're talking about, and that
Yeah, and we don't want to
and it's
go down that road
but
too
it's
much
a
because
bad name on SAP drivers basically, and or not drivers. I'm sorry. Wow, SAP counselors, and it's kind of hindering things. Um, Fraudulent wise, maybe, or trust wise, I
well,
guess.
it is fraud if that state prescribed that you cannot practice in their state because you do not have the license or the certification to do it, then you shouldn't do it. I have it, but if you don't have it, you shouldn't do it. Certain states do not, just like you cannot get a federal contract with the United States government if you're not a certain certification, that type of thing.
Mhm.
Any
Well,
of my people on the webcast, I know we've been over 2 hours. You guys
yeah,
got
we're
any more questions about
well.
anything?
Before we do that, I just want everybody to know out there listening. Sorry to cut you off. If you guys see somebody that could be scamming, if you guys feel like you're getting ripped off or something doesn't seem right, report them. I'll put the email down in the link. The
Yeah.
ODAPC webmail at dot.gov. Provide specific, accurate information. Give names, contacts information, website addresses, and let's let's take them down. Let's stop this nonsense and just stick to trustworthy SAPs like yours truly, Charles Erby. I'll stop right there. with that email. All right. So Charles, you're asking, or anybody have questions?
No, you guys summed it up. This is very interesting and informative. Thank you.
Yes,
No
sir.
problem.
I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Back to consortiums and drivers getting with employees who don't necessarily follow up with their testing on that last step.
Right.
I know it's muddy waters, right? Because as a SAP driver, like you all said, like you're down and out probably, financially. So
Yes.
the biggest thing is to get back on the road. However, right? Because I mean, with any trucker, regardless SAP program or not, the biggest thing is to vet the employer to make sure that you're getting with a great company, right? So with that being said, as a SAP driver coming back into the equation of trucking, what would be a good line of questioning to make sure that the company you're getting with does already have like a consortium or something, policy, whatever in place to make sure that they're going to follow up with the testing?
Good question. Now, you don't, as far as I see it, that's a tricky area because you really don't have, in reality, you don't have the leverage because when you have a SAP violation, they want to make your chances at employment a little bit more limited than if you don't have a SAP violation. So more drivers that have SAP violations go and get jobs wherever they can without asking any questions because they don't have the leverage. They know the employer does. And in fact, it's a point where employers be real shady and real disrespectful to a lot of SAP drivers because they know they have the leverage. So that's an area that I don't have the real answer for, but it is a real good question. How do you make sure this employer is going to have the credibility to follow through on step 6 and quit playing around with you?
We start a dialogue. We start a feed. Basically, Facebook groups. Put it out there. Let people know. Email Charles and I. Email me. Let me know. And we hold these companies accountable by putting the info we get from other drivers out, and maybe they'll see, oh shit, it's putting a bad name on our company. We just started the Reddit actually. It's gonna be a SAP driver's guide. You guys can let us know in there. That Charles, like, see what I'm saying? Like, just let us know, and I'll make it public. If they're not following through, we'll blast them on the internet because that works sometimes.
And I'm going to stay on the SAP side of it,
Yeah.
the clinical side. I can't be an advocate, but I will tell you about my experiences with drivers that going through living hell in this area. It's kind of tough, some SAP drivers out there, to try to find employment. That's why I always, also after the assessment, email a hiring list of companies that know me and I know them, and they've been with me for years and years and years. Even if they don't find a job on that hiring list that I email my drivers, psychologically it helps that guy, that lady, to have at least something, a employment kit, a starter kit, so to
Hope.
speak. Yeah, hope. Everybody needs a hope shot. So and a lot of drivers, a lot of my drivers has found jobs on that hiring list I send them.
Just so everybody knows, if you guys check your messages, look at the little square thing. I posted a Google Documents link of some of the companies I know are hiring, except for the tribe. I haven't changed that yet. But anything marked with a green check mark, they hire SAP drivers. Anything not marked, we haven't called to confirm. If you want to call and confirm them, go ahead. Anything with the red, they do not hire SAP drivers. So we've started that. We've started that way, and we're going to keep adding to the list and keep on giving the information out.
And
Thank you.
Mr. Will, you still with us, right?
Of course, I'm right here, my
Yeah, Mr. Will, we're going to talk more when we pick up back where we left off concerning you being an electrician going through the SAP process. And so I don't want you to feel left off. And
No, no, no.
everybody around the nation. Yeah, go ahead, talk.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just saying everything's real interesting. I'm listening.
Yeah, because you do have a unique case, and there's a lot of other unique cases out there around the nation that's listening to this podcast of having, they do have a CDL designation, and they are safety sensitive people working as mechanics and etc. and they have to go through the SAP process, even though they may not be using that CDL and driving the truck. That can be a tricky situation. So I want everybody around the nation to know that I can handle that. I handle it all the time. And one of the keys that drivers need to know, when you are in that situation, like with Marvin, he's basically a supervisor, but he has to have the designation of that CDL in order to stay in that position, so to speak, with the county. Well, the county can always, or the MRO at your job can always say, well, we don't want to have him exactly go through the SAP process because we don't want to deal with that CDLs. But he could come to me, and it can be a CUE, a chemical use evaluation, which he will use. I will use the SAP process, the gold standard, but we don't have to deal with the clearinghouse if they're not going to violate you on the clearinghouse, but still want you checked out. That is always in play. You guys understand that?
Yes.
You guys understand? If they do not want to put you on the clearinghouse, put the violation, post it on the clearinghouse, but they want you to get checked out, they can always come to me, and we will do a CUE, a chemical use evaluation, using the SAP process, which is, once again, the gold standard, but the clearinghouse is not in play, and you still got checked out by somebody like me.
Very useful information, guys. Very useful information.
And just one more. That's one more thing, Mr. Charles. I mean, with the step 6, I mean,
Yes.
how difficult is it on the employer side to really go through that? Is it the money? Is it with the situation? Is it the money that's the bad situation, or is it just sending you and monitoring you? Is that what it is? I mean, because you think about it, if you're at a job where you're driving, you get into an accident, they're sending you for a drug test. If you're at the job and you get hurt, and it might be a situation where a lawsuit, they're sending you, and you have to take a drug test. So, I mean, what do you think is the big situation with that?
I can answer that. Insurance costs over $1 million for a premium. Something like that, if not more, for trucking companies. If they have a choice between somebody that's has a low risk of not using any drugs, has a clean driving record, all this, or somebody that might have used, no matter the situation, whether it was a marijuana, whether it was just light P, if it's not a negative, it's a positive, whatever. They're looking at the risk benefactor of it, right? So they're gonna choose the guy that has the clean record, nothing going on, over the risk of, okay, this guy might relapse and do something again. This guy might end up being a problem while we're on the road. If he gets in a wreck, okay, now how could we prevented that wreck? By not hiring the guy. Maybe a company at one time had hired SAP drivers, but the SAP drivers got in a wreck. Now they don't want to hire them no more. It's just been because they relapsed. I think a lot of companies are afraid of relapse. Just like when you do call into a company, they'll ask you, okay, you're in the SAP program, what did you fail for? And if you say weed, about 80% of the time they'll hire you. But if you say anything heavier, they're gonna be like, no, we can't risk relapse. But if you want to answer, if you have anything to add to that answer, Charles.
Yeah, I think he's pertaining to step 6, though. You gave us the larger picture. But why is step 6? They just laying around and loitering around, not completing step 6. Is that what you mean, Marvin?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm
and
sorry.
what is the real? And he
wrong.
wants to know. Marvin wants to drill down and know what's really going on, right?
Okay.
In my opinion, and in my experience,
yeah, this is all you. I don't got that.
Employers don't want to fool with the clearinghouse. After a while, you become something that they don't want to deal with, because now, this driver I got, he's a SAP driver. Oh, I got to go and I got to do this on the clearinghouse. Oh, I got to send him out take him off the job and send him to get a drug test, a follow up, and they, after a while, they just just want to fumble the ball, knowing that it's a fumble.
Which
You
is
know,
which is crazy, Charles, because if you don't know, man, there's a lot of sitting in trucking. You're sitting, there's times where you'll sit for 2 or 3 days, and you shouldn't be. If you're sitting too many times, like get the hell out of that company because you ain't making money. But there's a lot of downtime in trucking. But it's also, if you're driving on the East Coast, especially, I've had this issue where they couldn't find a drug testing facility for me, literally, that I could park my truck at. Now they have to get an Uber or they have to find transportation. Like, it can be a headache just to get a drug test.
well, there's a lot of moving parts, but back to what Marvin is saying, why are they dinking around with step 6? That's one of them. They don't like the clearinghouse and they don't want to lift a finger to really do it. Also, they don't want to keep track of the follow-ups.
Yeah, it's
You know,
lazy.
they really don't, they're supposed to keep track of. That's supposed to, federal regulation says the employee is supposed to do it. They don't have the dispatchers and those guys, they don't want to deal with that.
No.
But also they know that allegedly there's a game they can play with step 6. They can delay step 6 and keep you in the SAP process because it's to their advantage, in my opinion, and I hope I'm wrong. And this,
You're right.
okay, I really hope I'm wrong, but they can keep you that way. They can keep that tether connected to you and just keep you right where you're at. You understand that, Marvin?
Yep, the foot on your neck. Yep.
Look at it like
Okay,
how.
hold on.
Yep, yep.
The other part is they can also delay step 6 if you find they can use it for, and this is just in my experience of what drivers are telling me, they can use it for a vengeful purpose
Mm-hmm.
of making sure when you're going to go to a new job, they want to make sure you you still in that SAP process, which is going to be a headache for your new employer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get the 3 parts. Headache
Yep.
for the new employer by keeping you in the SAP process, also making sure they keep their foot on your neck, and also
Yep.
because they just ain't got time to deal with you and the clearinghouse and keeping track of drug screens. Everybody around the nation, I hope you understood, got that. And the ladies, Desiree, you got that?
Got it.
Yeah. So know those things, which is already in play, and it affects you.
Yep.
Any other questions about that SAP process in step 6?
No, sir.
Okay. And like with Mr. Will, I brought that thing up about the CUE, the chemical use evaluation. They could have went in that direction. So bear that in mind in the future. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Already. And Marvin, you want to make sure that, well, I'm glad that you have me, because one of the things that's good when you move away from DeKalb County Municipal and go somewhere else, all you have to do, and all the drivers around the nation understand, text me the email address of the new employer and put your name in the text, and I send you all your information to the new employer. Therefore, the chain will not be broken. There will not be any delay in you getting hired. Everything will be continuous, and that's important for a driver, for everything to be continuous, moving from one employer to the next. Everybody understand that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay. Be careful of the consortiums you use. Maybe ask some questions. There's one consortium that's raking in a whole lot of money. They like Las Vegas right now, but they may get an indictment one day too.
Yep.
Also, shop around for SAPs. Don't go to the first SAP that wants to charge you a lot of money when you're not working. Call around and see if you get a better deal. All righty?
Yes, sir.
And
And
ask a lot of questions, you guys. Around the
and here's
nation, not only my panel, but around the nation, I want you guys to do that, SAP drivers. Okay, go ahead.
I just need you guys to know, when you're shopping around, just recognize fake tactics that these self counselors might be using. If they offer any quick fixes, like or something that they guarantee to get you a job, not guarantee, I'm sorry, if they not getting the job, but what we're talking about, if they get you to they can do all your follow-ups as well. Watch out for that.
Yeah.
If they're pressuring you to pay more and more and more, don't. It should be a one-time fee. All right. If they're
Hmm.
trying to isolate you from your friends and family, or try to like, uh, oh, don't tell them, just pay me up front, blah blah blah. Big red flag. And
Hmm.
they, you could typically tell that someone's not being genuine, right? You can always verify the credentials, right, Charles, on the DOT website.
Yeah, when
And
you select the SAP, all the credentials and everything should come up. So
Mhm,
always do that. If you got a bad feeling about a SAP, go out to the clearinghouse, look at your violation, then look to
mhm,
the bottom of the screen. You'll see who is your SAP. Click that and put that SAP's name in there and see if anything comes up. If it's a big blank, oh boy, he's running off with your money. He don't exist. He's a
mhm.
ghost. You know, so a real SAP that's really registered with the Federal Clearinghouse, all his information and credentials will come up.
Yep.
Also, another thing, you want to be concerned about a SAP dropping you after sales. It has to be service
And that's a
after
big thing.
sales. They
Mhm,
have to continue to consult you and answer the phone even when you went through their process 3 years ago. Now, yeah, it's a pain in the butt because I got to do it and I don't like doing it, but it's part of the thing to treat a human being the way it should be done. A SAP should be available to you 2, 3 years after you went through the SAP process if they had questions.
yep.
And I get this so many times. I get other drivers call me and they already have a SAP, but they call me begging me to be their SAP and it can't be done. That's a regulation, that's an ethics violation. I just can't take over another SAP's case. But they want to ask me 1,000 questions that they wanted to ask their SAP, but they paid that guy. Ask him. But I'm a cupcake, and I still, and then they feel entitled to call me again and again because I'm soft, and then you guys see what I have to go through.
Uh, that's why we started this podcast, Charles. Because now we can have the call-ins on the show, and we can help them. And it's our one day free to actually be able to do this in a long-term
Yeah, yeah.
manner. Remember, guys, genuine SAP evaluations and counseling are essential for compliance, and you need to make sure that you seek not legal, licensed professionals like Charles, for example. You cannot just, not anybody off the street could be a SAP counselor and call themselves a SAP and take your money if they're not verified by the DOT, if they're not verified by word of mouth. Word of mouth is very big. People can post themselves on social media all they want, but the results is what matters. So yeah,
The big thing is, when you run into somebody who loves what they do,
Right,
yeah,
right.
it shows. It shows.
man. I can personally say from working with Charles, I mean, we've known each other for like 2 years now. He was my staff counselor, but like at the moment, because I was like you guys, man. I thought literally after I failed my drug test, I was done. I was gonna get out trucking.
Hmm.
And then I was talking to somebody from Variant, and they said, "Oh, go through Charles." I'm like, okay, and I called Charles up, and we just immediately clicked, and he got me set up, got me through all my classes, and yeah, I was like, I want to expand this. Like, people need to know about Charles, man. So I used my
Yeah.
social media influence, and
Yeah.
some of y'all found out about Charles, and I did exactly what I wanted to do because I didn't want nobody, not my worst enemy, to ever have to feel what I felt. So
Hmm. The
yeah,
key to it is not in all this clinical education and all these 4 and 8 year university degrees. I may get a little silly right now, but the key is in the good book. Treat somebody right, and
Right.
they want to get well. If
mhm.
a lot of people, well, some SAPs, not a lot, I hope, but some SAPs piss drivers off, which makes them want to go have a drink. you know, and then then they're gonna get high because now they filled with all this antagonism that the SAP has instigated in them by not treating them right and talking down to them.
Yeah.
And a lot of drivers don't want to. I had a lady. I have her right now. She is she's completely innocent. She didn't do any drugs, and I believe her. But everywhere she goes, they throwing the stigma of drug user at her, and it really gets to her. You guys understand that?
Mm-hmm.
The stigma, you know. So a SAP can't
That's
always drill down and throw that in your face, that, you use, no, treat somebody right and they will get well, they'll stay clean, and they have a good feeling about the SAP process and you.
we should start the hashtag stop the stigma. Like for SAP drivers, man, because it is, Charles, the freaking stigma, and it sucks. It really does.
We are all human.
We all Well said. We are all human.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, guys, it's been a very wonderful conversation, and I want to thank you guys for being our first guest
Yeah,
on our
thank you.
podcast. I think it went spectacular. But I think we're also getting close to the end of our show.
Yeah, we worked through a lot of bugs right here, and we stubbed our toes a few times, but that's because this is the first episode of having guests. And once again, we want to reach out to you guys and tell you thank you so much for joining our podcast. You made it live.
Yeah,
It's
and if
like,
you guys ever want to come on again too, you're more than welcome to.
Appreciate
we're
it.
all, and
yeah,
if you know anybody who needs a staff counselor or needs some guidance, let them know about us too. I do have an email here you guys can share out that will be public for everybody as well.
yeah, and
I'll
have
put
a
in the note.
Chiron or across the screen my phone number, my website. And just call me and we serve up some pinto beans and cornbread and
Well, I'm gonna put the email.
I'm gonna eat it all because I'm cooking it and I'm gonna eat it. Y'all can't come through the screen, so I'm gonna eat it all. But yeah, boy.
Oh man.
Yeah, I need a
Well,
Scooby snack right now. I shouldn't have said that. Who got some Ozempic? Maybe I need some of that. But anyway,
let's see. So it's gonna be Revive and Drive Podcast at gmail.com. I put it in the little square box where the
Yep.
where the companies that are hiring are. But Will, I just want to say thank you for coming on and telling us, the whole electrician thing. Same with you, Wells, all of you, but just having some unique perspectives on the SAP, because it's always been
right.
trucking. So seeing it from like other sides it's very interesting.
Yeah,
So
and Brad, he's going to handle the employment and political end of this because SAP process and CDL driving, being an electrician with a SAP certification, being a supervisor with a SAP certification is all political, very political. So Brad he's going to talk about that political end of it and employment for the ladies. He's going to handle I'm going to handle the SAP issue. That's where I'm going to do my step.
There's certain things Charles can't say just because he's a SAP professional, whereas me, I'm just a trucker with a bad mouth. I can say whatever the hell I want. So
that's right.
And I'm gonna take that. All right. So that way no one's getting in trouble.
Yep, I'm the SAP with the bad breath. So
I want to thank everybody, though. Thank everybody, and Charles, you especially, man.
Everybody, a round of applause for Charles for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Alrighty, so let's wrap this thing up, and it's hard because we having fun, but it's
So real quick, so I just want to make sure everybody, Charles, where can they get a hold of you if they need a SAP counselor?
Yeah, at 404-620-1944.
And you guys
can say goodbye.
And you guys can follow us on YouTube, and of course we have this guy.
Okay.
Anyway,
I'll definitely be subscribing to your channel as well, Brad.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And
you answer Charles, yes.
Yeah, podcast, our Revive and Drive podcast on Spotify. I don't know if you guys have it. Like, we're trying to get. If you guys know, Spotify is very hard to grow. So if you guys want to follow us on there, and then YouTube is just the BigTruckerB. I'll put that link down. But we're also starting a side channel just for the podcast only, no other stuff. So yeah. All right, guys. Well,
and we're not done with you yet. As far as our 4 guests right here, if you got questions for us in the future, and you see our podcast going on, call me on the phone and I'll put it up to the speaker. You guys got it?
Okay, okay, we can definitely do that. Yeah.
And also put some hit us with comments, emails. Keep us going. You guys are the lifeblood of everything. So thank you. Already.
Thank
Brad,
you.
Thank you a lot.
It's been
all right, guys. We'll talk to you
really
later.
big shoe.
Yeah, Charles, stay on real quick.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. What a great show. Hold on. All right, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty good show. I guess we're gonna